Towards the end of Parshas Emor, we're told, Kasher yitain mum ba'odom, kain yinosein boy. If a man gives a blemish to his fellow, just as he did, shall be done to him. The pasuk is clearly describing somebody that injures someone else and what he has to pay to compensate him. The Gemara explains that this pasuk doesn't mean that he actually gives him a compensation, but rather, in financial terms, how much does he have to pay him? The Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh tells us a much deeper way of understanding this amazing pasuk, and that is, when a person finds a blemish on somebody else, it's a sign that he too suffers from the very same blemish. The Mishnah tells us in regards to checking tzaras that a person can check somebody else's, but never his own. And that's understood to mean that it's so easy to look at somebody else and see their faults, but we rarely see the faults within ourselves. Somebody walks into the first class section of the train and he notices there's only one other person sitting down. He makes himself comfortable in the plush seats, takes out a cigarette, and starts smoking. The only other passenger in that compartment turns to him and says, "Excuse me, sir, this is a non-smoking part of the train. You can't smoke." The man looks at him, he says, "I know," and continues smoking. The other passenger was fuming. He stands up and storms out of the compartment of the train and goes to call the ticket collector. He comes back a few minutes later with the man who collects the tickets, who turns to the guy and says, "Excuse me, sir, it's forbidden to smoke here. And I heard that this other gentleman has told you about that already." So the man stares the conductor in the eyes and he says, "I know, I'm so sorry. But you see, the other gentleman has no right to tell me this, because he has a third-class ticket, and he's sitting in the first-class compartment of the train." The conductor promptly checks the other man's ticket and sees, yes, he has a third-class ticket, and drags him embarrassingly out of the first-class compartment. The journey continues, and at the end of the journey, they both get off of the train and they meet at the platform on the train station. The gentleman that was escorted out meets the guy who sat in first class and he says, "Excuse me, how did you know that I had a third-class ticket?" The man looks at him and smiles. He says, "What do you mean?" "Your ticket was sticking out of your pocket, and I saw that it had exactly the same color as my ticket." The Torah is telling us in this week's parasha, so often we look at others and we see their faults, we see their shortcomings. Zog the Heilige Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, the Torah is telling us, make sure when you look at somebody else, you're seeing a mirror, and it means you have that fault within yourself. Have an amazing Shabbos.